Meantime, the Biden administration is working to clear up what some call conflicting and sometimes confusing messaging about the COVID-19 vaccine, specifically whether vaccinated people will need another shot, better known as a booster, down the line in a few months.
Big question we all have. This comes as President Biden is pushing to reach 70% of Americans with at least one dose of the vaccine by July 4th. NewsNation White House correspondent Allison Harris joins us with the very latest.
Robin, Marty, there's been confusion about masks, and now there's confusion about COVID boosters. Despite a lot of talk about these boosters, it's still unclear whether they are needed and when they could be needed. Dr. Anthony Fauci saying today the U.S. has to plan to give people COVID boosters, even though there is no set date as to whether that COVID booster could be needed in 6 months or in a year. Fauci says this could depend on how COVID variants spread, even though cases and deaths are way down.
We are planning for the eventuality that we might need to boost people. We don't know whether we will have to do it and when we will have to do it.
Pfizer and Moderna giving a more specific date, saying that COVID boosters could be needed by September. The CEO of Pfizer says people who are vaccinated might need a booster shot within 8 to 12 months. For people who got the Pfizer vaccine, that would mean that they would need a third shot following their initial 2 doses. And the president of Moderna recently told investors there could be a need for a COVID booster every 9 to 12 months to prevent severe illness from COVID-19. Clinical trials are underway.
The data that I see coming, they are supporting the notion that likely there will be a need for a booster somewhere between 8 and 12 months.
And in the meantime, President Biden is still pushing his goal to get 70% of American adults vaccinated with at least one shot by the 4th of July. Right now, 60% of American adults have at least one dose. That adds up to more than 160 million people, according to the CDC. And that means for the president that between now and Independence Day, 20 million more Americans have to roll up their sleeves to meet his targeted goal. Robin, Marty.
And Allison, the White House working to convince those remaining people who haven't gotten vaccinated to go and get the shot. What are they saying about why people are hesitant?
Well, Marnie, it's still more than half of the country that hasn't gotten at least one shot. And today, Andy Slavitt with the White House COVID response team said the vast majority of people who are not vaccinated aren't necessarily opposed to getting vaccinated. They just aren't prioritizing it in their lives. So they're saying that these are people who might not have time to go to get a vaccine shot. And you'll remember weeks ago, we reported on the Biden administration offering tax credits to businesses who offered paid sick leave for people to be able to go get their COVID-19 shots. This is clearly what the White House thinks their biggest issue is in people not getting vaccinated. Not that they say they won't get a shot, but that they just don't have time or haven't yet prioritized it. Marty?
Busy lives, right? Can't take time off from the job. Just need to bring the shot to them.
Absolutely.
Allison, thank you.